Hello everyone, it's Matt. I am the solo developer working on the game Eternal Erosion, and this is the second episode of my development series. Eternal Erosion is a game that takes inspiration from games like Stardew Valley, Terraria, RuneScape, and obviously ideas of my own. A quick run through of the game before we dive into episode 2. The game revolves around the Fountain of Life that grows the grass around it when the player sacrifices extra items to the fountain. Buildings and objects can only be built or placed on grass, and monsters will attempt to destroy the fountain, which will end the game if they do destroy the fountain. The player gets attacked every night, and it's up to the player to defend the fountain and their base. This episode will focus on the sword combo system, and I will show you a brief demonstration of the completed system before we dive into this episode. So as you can see, I have the stone sword selected, and so when I attack... Oh, I gotta turn the sound on. So as you can see, when I have the stone sword selected, when I attack, it does one attack, so I can do it in all four directions. But the way the combo system works is if you click again within a certain time frame, or if you just hold down the button, you can continue the combo. So I'll do 2 attacks now. Oh. And then there's also the third attack, so I'll show you that right now. The other thing I want to show you before we dive into this episode is it does work on monsters. The monster is losing health, but the health bar and the animations are not done yet. And the last thing I want to show is the hitbox. So the attack on the one side is messed up because it mirrors the attack. So if you notice, the sword switches hand when you switch directions. That is done on purpose to save development time, so I don't have to do the artwork in all 4 directions. I just have to do it in 3 directions and then mirror the left to the right, or right to the left, whatever. I just have to change the code for the character combat to also mirror the hitbox. But without further ado, let's dive into this episode, and I'll explain briefly what I did to get to this point. Oh, and before I continue, I just want to explain too that unfortunately, there is a decent amount of content I forgot to record, and I'm really sorry about that, but I will do my best to explain what I did this episode. So this is the coding section of the episode. I want to start by saying that I'm not an expert. I have a 2-year computer programming diploma from Algonquin College and a few years of experience in Unity. Most of my game was coded previously because I've been working on this game for over 6 months now. Because there is roughly 50 plus scripts already in the game, as you can see in this diagram, I will have to do a brief explanation, but if you guys are interested, I can start a coding series in the near future. So this is the diagram right here. As you can see, there's a bunch of pods where all the scripts are in. And you can see that each one has, for example, an engine manager, a character manager, UI manager. There's a manager for each one of these. And the way my code works is that each pod of scripts have to communicate with the manager of those scripts to be able to communicate with each other. So for example, if one of the scripts in the Windows manager, for example, let's just say stats window, if that wanted to communicate with something in the skills manager, it would send it to Windows Manager. Windows Manager would then send it to Skills Manager. Skills Manager would then send it to whatever skill it was, and then it would return back. That's briefly how it works. All the key presses and all the scroll wheel, mouse position, key presses, all that goes through player controls, so it's in one spot. Anything that player controls does, so anything the player tries to do, has to go through player logic. Player logic tells the player controls if the player is able to do it or not. So for example, if the player tries to left click with a sword in the hotbar, it will contact player logic. It will check states like, is the player in an attack animation, are they fishing, etc. If it returns true, then player controls will send that data to either character intent or Windows Manager. If it's false, then it just won't go through. So it prevents players from, being able to do like stuff that they're not supposed to do. So player controls can either contact Windows Manager, which will open a UI, close a UI, etc. By key presses usually, or it will contact character intent, which I do plan on erasing, or not erasing, but I do plan on changing this layout and making it so player controls has to contact character manager contacts character intent, and so on, so on. But currently the way it works is character intent will then take whatever player controls the player was trying to do. It will decide based on what the player, what weapon the player is holding, all that kind of stuff, what the player is trying to do. Then if, for example, if the player is trying to walk or do any of that kind of stuff, it will go to character actions. If the player is trying to left click with a weapon type item, then it will go to character combat. So this episode is going to focus mainly on character combat because of the fact that it's a combat episode and it's based on the sword swing. So from there, I'll give you a brief explanation of the character side of scripts. So you can see character sprites, that's responsible for all the animations. So anytime a player does an animation, it gets sent to there. Camera control is just simply currently is just making the camera follow the player. Character information is all the character's health, armor, movement speed, that kind of stuff. Placing item is a script that's related to just if the player has an item in their hotbar and they're trying to place it on the ground. An example would be placing a crop or placing a chest or whatever. And then here's the inventory system where it monitors everything to do with the inventory. And that seems to be everything I wanted to show for now in this diagram. So without further ado, let's jump into the code now. So this is the character intent script. So the character intent script is even though it looks like there's a lot of code here, it's fairly simple in the way it works. I'll give you a brief explanation. So when the player controls contacts player logic and it gets the go ahead to be able to move or do whatever it needs to do to the character, it will go through, because it's the combat series, we'll just go through that element of it, and then we can explain more of this scripts or these scripts in future episodes. But for now, the combat is done through mouse action, because anytime you left click, you're swinging a sword or a weapon or whatever it is. So the mouse actions gets called if player logic allows it. It detects is the player left clicking or right clicking. So in this case, it will check weapon intent first. So it will check, is the player right clicking? No. Is the player left clicking? Yes. Is a highlighted item equal to or not equal to null? So is the player holding an item in their hotbar? And is that item equal to a weapon? It does the same here, but is it a tool? It'll do a tool intent, so a tool would be, a hoe or a watering can or any of that kind of stuff. If this fails, it will check is the player trying to place an item. If that fails, it goes to is the player right clicking. If that fails, the last thing it checks is the player hovering over something. So in this case, we'll go to weapon intent. So when this runs, it will then do a check, is the player mouse down? So did the player just click the mouse down? Or, this is what this means right here, or is the player holding the mouse down? If those are true, then it contacts the character combat script, and it calls the melee item use function, and it passes the hotbar item, so the item that the player is using, the weapon. So that gets passed to melee item used, which would be right up here, or no, right up here. Okay, so the way this code works is it's getting combo state. So what this function checks for is if when the player attacks, there's a small window if the item is a combo item, and that's what this is checking for. So if the player is using a combo item, then this state would be true if the player was in the part of the attack animation where the player can click again to continue the combo. So if the player is in that combo state and this was called, then that means that the player clicked again while already in the attack animation, but they were in the combo state, so that they were able to click again. So because that happened, the next combo attack is queued, so that means that when the current attack animation is done, because this is true, it will trigger the next attack, so the next part of the combo, because the player clicked in that window. Then it sets the combo state to false, because even if the player is still in the combo state, you don't want the player to left click again, because what's the point? Then it checks, does the player have a highlighted item? It should be equal to, not equal to null. The player should have one, but it's just a final error check. Then it may, because return breaks out of the function. Same with here. Then in this part, it turns the attack state true, so that it turns the player into the attack state, so they're attacking. And then it starts a new combo attack. So I'll briefly show what the new combo attack does. So the new combo attack will cancel this coroutine if it's running. And I'll explain more about that coroutine soon. And then it will say, is the previous item attacked? So does the previous item attacked before this attack? Is it the same item, or is it a different item than what than this attack is? So if it's a different item, then that means it can't continue the combo because it's a separate item. So that's why it's resetting the combo attack. Then it's assigning the previous item to the current item being used. So that's what this function does. And then it starts the melee swing. So the melee swing here is it gets all the information that it needs from the weapon. So all the, I'll briefly show here. So all the weapons have data here, which I need to clean up. But so you can see here the array size is 3. That's because there's 3 combos. If the item only had 1 combo, then the array size would be 1. So as you can see, all the data is here. So each item has all the combo information, the attack range, is it swiping left to right, in to out to in, knockback force, all that is defined in the item itself. So when we go here, it's pulling all that information from the weapon in the item in the player's hand, and then it's going to be using it down here. So here is getting the total attack time. So because the way the swipe works, it takes time, right? So let's say if it takes 0.25 seconds to go where the hitbox can damage anything in that swipe radius, then that total attack time would be 0.25 seconds plus the wind-up time leading up to that. That's what's here, weapon attack duration and the wind-up time. So the wind-up time would be the time the player is moving, like in the attack animation, before it's able to hit. So like if the player has a sword on their shoulder, before it swings down and before it's in the radius where you want to hit, that would be the wind-up time. It's getting the character's position, facing direction. The attack position is, it's getting the, so if let's say the player is swiping right to left, the attack position would be, it would return the start position, which would be on the right, and the end position, which would be on the left. And the radius and all that is defined by the item itself. And the update sprite item use, so remember previously in the episode when I discussed how character sprites, the script was responsible for character animations? That's what this is doing right here. It's passing that data back to character intent, which I believe passes it to character manager, then character sprites to change the animations. The sound effect played, the reason it's set in a bool is because right here the while loop. So this while loop starts right away, so it starts even for the wind-up time. So you can see here it's checking, is the weapon attack time greater than the wind-up time? So that means, is it past the wind-up time? If it's not, it just continues the loop until the timer gets to where it's past the wind-up time. When it's past the wind-up time, that means that it's automatically in the attack phase of the attack, which is why it checks here, is the sound effect played? If it's equal to false, then it turns it to true and it plays the sound effect. And the reason I had to do this is because it's in a loop. I don't want the sound effect to just keep playing. And in this loop, it will it'll run the weapon attack loop. This is the core part of the combo, or the combat system, that actually does damage. So in this here, it passes all this in the parameters. I don't want to go too into detail in the code because we can save that for coding episodes in the future. There is a lot of code to go through to explain everything in detail, so I'm trying to give a brief explanation for those that are interested in the development side of things. So getting the percentage done attack, so you're getting how far into the weapon attack, like how far into the attack duration is the player, and then it's going to move the hitbox depending on the percentage done of the attack. So if you start right to left, 70% done the attack, then it would be the hitbox center would be 70% of the way from right to left. The hitbox location, that's where we're setting all the variables for that. This is for displaying the hitbox. These are getting the facing directions and then determining the hitbox size and the location of the hitbox. So because if you're facing left or right versus up and down, the hitbox is going to rotate, and the position relative to the character is going to be different. And that's why it has to check if you're facing up or down or left or right. Then we set all this, which is the min bounds and max bounds for the hitbox. So then once all that stuff is set up, so remember this is called in this loop, which is called every 0.2 seconds. I believe that's, or 0.02 seconds, which I believe is the attack timer interval current time. So this is called every 0.02 seconds. So then it's going to damage enemies in the hitbox so this is going to get passed to the manager that controls all the enemies. And what it does is it passes, so it gets all the information here that's passed to it, the min and max bounds. It detects, is any of the enemies that are currently in the game within that bounds? If it is, it will damage that enemy. In the enemy's manager script, it also keeps track of if the enemy was already hit by that attack in a previous loop. So remember, this is called every 0.02 seconds. If it is, it won't damage the enemy again, so it doesn't double hit or triple hit or whatever. It only hits them once per swing. And the same thing is done for here. It checks the objects. So the object manager, so any object in the game would, for example, a tree, a barrel, a rock, anything that can be damaged or interacted with in any way is going to be an object, and it's going to have an object attribute script attached to it. So the object manager script is going to search for all the objects in the game, detect is it in, well, later on, and for performance reasons, I'm going to put them in grids, so that's not searching every object in the game, and it's only going to search objects that are close enough to the player. But for now, it searches every object in the game. It says, are you within that min to max bounds? You are. Then it's going to damage the object. It has a similar thing to the enemy's manager, where it won't allow the object to get double hit. And for now, it also checks. So for example, if you hit an object that is a tree, it will only allow you to damage it if the item that you're using is not only a weapon type, but the subtype has to be a hatchet. In the future, I can also make it for battle axes and stuff like that. Or if you're hitting a rock, then the subtype of the weapon has to be a pickaxe. And that's roughly how it works. And then the last thing I wanted to show you, remember here when I said the coroutine gets stopped when you start a new combo attack? The reasoning is because at the end of, so after the attack loop is done, it will then check, is the item in hand a combo attack item, and is the item not on its last combo attack. So if there's 3 attacks, if it's on the 3rd attack, it will skip this part. If it's on the 2nd combo attack, then first, then it will run the continue combo timer. So what this does is it will wait the combo wait time. So remember when I said that each weapon has its own stats on it? The combo wait time is different for each weapon. So there's a period in time where the player will be able to click in the animation to be able to continue the attack time, the combo attack, and it's different for every weapon. So it will wait this time, right? And once the wait period is done, it's going to cancel the combo. So if the player doesn't do a new combo attack before the previous combo attack ends, then the combo window will be gone. So that's why, if you're following me, I know it can be a bit confusing, but if this gets called and stops the coroutine, then it's stopping it from canceling the combo when this runs out. So that's why if you continue the combo won't run out. And that's a brief explanation of the code side of things. We can jump into, I wish I had more footage, but we can jump into the art aspect of making the combo system work. And I can show you what I got here. Okay, so this is the art/animation section of this episode. It is going to be very brief because I don't have a lot of footage, but I can show you the end result of what I do have. And for those who do not recognize this program, it's Sprite, which is, in my opinion, the best art tool that you can use for pixel art. It's on Steam for like $20 or something. But anyway, so if you look at each frame, you can see that it has milliseconds on them, and that's how long the frame is. So you can see there's like 0.2 seconds of it sitting on the player's shoulder. And these can obviously be changed, but I'll show you the animation. So this, because it's the first combo attack, I'm only going to show you the player facing down because the video is getting a bit long. But if you look, it's 400 seconds. So this is, remember I told you about the combo window the player has? So this is the window that the player has to be able to click again to continue the combo. So if the player clicked again, then it would, you can see combo 2 starts in that state, and then it would go to the next part, right? But if the player doesn't click again, then it resets the animation. And that's basically how it works. So if you see here, the combo window here is 300 milliseconds. If the player misses the window, it resets the animation. If the player clicks again, it would end here. It would start here on the third combo, and then it finishes it. This one doesn't have a combo window because it's the third combo. You can't continue. It just resets. If you keep clicking or you hold down the left click after the third combo, it will just reset the attack back to the first combo. But you can see it again. And that is a brief explanation of the art side of things. So yeah, that's the end of the episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I did my best to make the best episode that I could. I know there's a lot of areas I can improve on. Your feedback in the comments is greatly appreciated. I do try to, like, I know my series is new, but I will read everyone's comments and improve my video or my series or my game the best that I can. I don't know if you guys would prefer me to do video clips of me doing the artwork or the coding and talking over it and clipping that way, or do you guys like this system that I have now? Would you prefer the art section before the coding? And any feedback is greatly appreciated, but I am going to continue to try to make this series the best that I can and make the Eternal Erosion the best I can. So I really do appreciate everything, guys. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have a nice day.